Welcome back to Civil Discourse Now. I'm Mark Stormwell.
I'm Paul Ogden.
We are live streaming from Aesop's Tables at 600 East Massachusetts Avenue in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana, on what is now turned into a rather grayish Groundhog Day, February 2nd, 2013.
Any predictions on the groundhog?
Paul, I don't understand that. I mean,
he's already not seen his show.
Well, I thought it was like
he didn't
6
see
more
it.
weeks.
I thought
It's early spring.
Oh, good.
No, I mean it's early spring.
Good.
But wasn't there something about? Oh no, I was thinking like Easter.
No.
Crucified, dead, and buried 3 days. Came out, rolled away the stone from his tomb, saw his shadow, and went back in for 6 more weeks.
Right.
There's a different twist on that.
What? And Mark, where can they address the hate man?
Moving on.
I'm sorry, that was my bad. This is on Indiana Talks, which is an internet-based network. Indiana Talks, started by Gary Snyder, who does not probably agree with the joke I just told, or whatever it was. If you go to their website, it says there's a donate button. You can hit that and donate. Thank you. Donate money to Indiana Talks so that they can buy equipment and software and put more shows, or a bunch of shows that are on the network, including this show. We don't necessarily agree with the views of people on the other shows. We don't necessarily agree with each other, but it's a good network. Our guest panelists today are Maya Axton, who's a small business owner and blogger, and website
creatingmaya.com.
Also with us is Annette Gross. She's state coordinator for PFLAG, and your website?
We are ndpflag.org.
And Zach Adamson, who's city county councilor at large. And Zach, what's your contact information?
www.adamsonforindy.com.
And we're finishing up discussing rights of people in the LGBT community to marry, and how in Indiana right now they put on hold the constitutional amendment. Paul, in the process of promulgating a constitutional amendment an amendment to the Indiana Constitution, it's passed by the legislature, then it's put on a referendum?
Yes,
Twice.
It's been passed the legislature twice.
Okay.
2 separately elected legislatures.
And then is it just one referendum?
It is just one
Yeah.
referendum.
And is that referendum by simple majority?
Yes.
It passes the House instead of a simple majority.
Yeah, but I meant the referendum.
Yes.
Referendum by
Yes.
simple majority, right.
So that's being tabled because we have 2 United States Supreme Court cases that are pending right now that are going to be argued in March. And if those go through, everything's presumably moot.
Could change things.
I mean,
However, we are still proceeding as if it's going to happen. We're still trying to educate people about the bill.
Well, those 2 court cases, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is Gale versus OPM and Perry versus, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I don't know what they changed it to. Those are the 2 court cases that they're waiting on.
it'd be Jerry Brown would be the governor now.
So would it? Yeah, it'd be Perry versus Jerry Brown then, and the
Depends
Gale
on how they docketed it. I don't know what they do in terms of change of office. They might stay with the original docket entry.
Once it's decided, of course.
And then we keep talking about the bill, but we haven't named it. It's HJR 6.
Right.
So we haven't said that. So
Okay.
if people listening
Yeah.
can look it up.
And write your state rep or state senator and say, don't vote for
Don't
this.
vote for
no.
it. Vote no.
And then next election, vote Libertarian.
That's
See, that's an interesting thing because I've had many conversations. In fact, I think the first time I had it with somebody sort of a libertarian nature was at the rally at the State House with the judge, Stevens, right after that
Fourth Amendment?
Fourth Amendment rally that was out there.
Justice David.
Yeah. Sadly, I was the only politician on the Democratic side that was out there that day. It was very irritating, especially since I know many of them feel the same way. But we had talked, and I said, the irony here is all these people who are talking about individual liberties and things, mostly libertarian-type folks, are perfectly fine voting to amend the Constitution to deny gays and lesbians the rights.
Oh, that's not true. Our official libertarian platform is against that.
Not the party. I'm talking about the mob that was outside.
There's a lot of people in that mob,
There were
a lot of them that aren't actually libertarians. It's a word just like people call themselves Democrats, but we don't have to love all of them.
Right.
So it's same thing with libertarians. So I would advise against
Or people who call themselves
to,
Cubs fans. Oh, that means that they lack common sense totally. I'm sorry.
But it's an ironic thing that they would be. Some people, I guess, would be so independent and liberty-loving for certain things, but not others.
Like people who generally profess to be against government unless it intrudes in people's private lives. And I think generally on the national scale you see that with the way in which the Republican National Committee,
the Tea Party,
I mean, that was what happened.
Well, see, what I find interesting is how, a lot of the legislators will say, I believe in family values. But taking away the right for LGBT people to get married is taking away family values.
Well, yeah, but wait a minute. Some of the family values we have, I mean,
that's arbitrary anyway.
I know, but if you have somebody like Newt Gingrich, he understands family values very well. He's been married 3 times, and he understands the institution.
Look, we've had legislators been caught in hotel rooms with young men who were for this bill.
Right.
So, where's the logic in that?
Where's the problem originates is that we've given up power to the government to allow them to legislate morality. And it's the same thing. We as long as we allow them to, mess with marriage and grant rights, as we keep saying over and over again.
They do.
We vote for them, and we haven't stopped them. But we're allowing them to legislate morality until we can stop them from doing that.
To legislate morality. Morality means, by definition, what is right and wrong. We legislate morality all the time.
It's inherent.
It doesn't mean we should always legislate morality, which is totally different.
We should never
They're using
legislate
that.
morality.
They're using that, though.
Right or wrong.
They're using that.
They're
using
defrauding is act. That is a wrong.
But they're using
We legislate.
everything they can to deny rights to a certain group of people. They will use anything, they will say anything, and they don't care.
And they try to cloak it. They try to cloak it in sounding like they have a higher moral value.
And they don't.
No, they do not.
Or a moral authority, I think, is the bigger issue there.
Yes.
When you don't allow 2 people to be together at the end of life, when you don't allow a family to do better because the parents can't get married legally, how is that protecting a family? What's happening to those kids? And it just snowballs like that, and it's not right.
I agree.
Yes.
And that's something that we've had a lot of disagreement on certain points here today in our panel discussion.
Plus, I want to be a mother-in-law. Really. And a grandma.
Well, I think you're going to get your. That's going to happen.
Something that she had mentioned earlier was about the reason why you would take government out of the marriage business, and I guess as far as this argument is concerned, the equity of it all, I guess, is the issue at hand. But why the government has an interest in people getting married again, I think, falls on the same line of why a business would offer domestic partnership benefits to employees. Because I think there are inherent values to a stable home unit.
Well, and I think there's
define stable home unit.
Wait. Going one step further, having been an anarchist in my life and now a retired anarchist, I'm a philosophical anarchist. I'm a lawyer and an anarchist. Tell me about it. So
the best kind.
Yeah, I know. I can say this, that it's a matter of expediency on something of great importance. Maya's talking about how you can do individual contracts on all these things.
You can't.
That would be very unmanageable. Whereas if you have statutes and people marry, then you can have more regularity in the manner in which, everything's screwed up in a lot of different ways.
Without the government regulation, you wouldn't have to have these massive contracts. It's when the government comes down and says and dictates to a hospital what visitations are like and what things like that are like. Without government regulation, you wouldn't have to have the huge contracts.
If you don't have the regulations there and a couple procreates, then as happens so many times, I know there are a lot of responsible fathers out there, but there are a lot of irresponsible fathers and responsible mothers and irresponsible mothers. They split up. One parent decides not to provide mutual support for the child that they've had together. With the intervention of government, it's bad enough now getting support for kids like that. In a lot of cases, they don't get the support. In a lot of instances, parents don't get visitation rights who are non-custodial. But without the government there, if you only had private contracts like you're talking about, you'd still have the government coming in.
Who could afford it?
Yeah, because you'd have people suing each other in order to enforce the rights that they had. Otherwise, if we're living in a communal society without government, and it's an anarchist, syndicalist thing, then everybody either cooperates or it's a bummer. I mean, it's you're going to have people.
If the government allows people to live way outside the basic principle, the golden rule. And so that's where we keep running into all these problems. No, it's the same topic, is that as long as the government's here, protecting people from making wrong, protecting people from their own individual consequences, people are never going to be good. They're never going to do right, because what's the consequence? The government's there to protect me. The government's there to tell me what's right or wrong.
Well, no,
and so it's allowing people to do things beyond what they would normally do to one another.
I think that with people, the way people are, you'd have people neglecting kids and not paying support. You'd have certain parental obligations.
Well, you have that now, and then the government takes them and they sell them into sex slavery. I mean, have you not heard of that? Okay, well,
Our government?
oh yeah, lots of them, because all governments are equal. But no, it's the basic principle of it, is that.
I know I've never done that.
I'm saying that as a practical, expedient, marriage is important. The institution is very ingrained and entrenched in this society. It has
a value.
And you
it
know
has
what?
a very value.
The people want it. I mean, you have people who want it. He would get married. I mean, it's wrong
We
to
haven't
take...
had that talk yet.
Well, I mean, you know, I'll talk to Christian.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Why deny a group of people that right?
And something, too, that she had mentioned, that somebody who met an hour earlier can go out and get married.
In Vegas.
In Vegas. And get
my
divorced.
partner and I, after 8 years, could not. And that's, I mean, we are as a
Why would you want to do that in Vegas? I mean, that's really cheap.
Have you seen...
should have a waiting period.
Have you seen the videos of those older men and women who finally could get married? How could that not break your heart?
Oh, I know.
That's very true.
They waited for so long.
And the other thing, Paul brings up a good point. We have a 2-day waiting period in Indiana for marriage, but it's a 60-day waiting period for a divorce. And I think that actually should be flipped. Because I think and there should be a portable breath tester present before the ceremony when somebody gets married. And this is just kind of like an off-the-wall suggestion. Maybe that would help in some ways. And they can't listen to any country western music. No.
Yeah.
No. And then there's another face to this. Is kind of a different part of the LGBT community. Is if I could marry my girlfriend right now, and then say in a couple years, if I end up getting my gender changed on my ID because the state forces me to have to declare a gender and has rules on it, they would invalidate our marriage.
I know someone who's in that position. I mean,
why do we have to give have our gender on the ID anyways? Especially these days when things are starting to get kind of blurred around and there's gender queer and everything else, and so there's another issue. Well, if the government doesn't have to know what sex we are or what gender we identify as.
I think that goes to the part where the ID is identification, so that you can show that you are who you are. Say you are.
Yeah, well, my ID picture looks nothing like me, so I can get away with about anything.
Right. So yeah, it creates a problem. So you maybe, I don't know.
So there are these now special rules for people like me that I have to follow and other people have to follow on my ID?
No.
I mean...
anybody could change their appearance when that would be
I could let my hair grow.
They would normally be walking around
and also when I went through witness protection, but that's a different story. But there was a gentleman down in Florida who just got married, and instead of his wife changing her name to his birth name, he changed his name to hers.
That happens.
Florida charged him with a felony. They ended up dropping the charges because they said, "Oh no, we don't do that for men. We'll change the last name for women, but men don't change the last name."
I've seen men take their wife's name and their name.
Yeah, and that's confusing because then what if their kids who have hyphenated last names get married to somebody with a hyphenated last name, and they decide to hyphenate their names?
It's a big problem when you're entering their names in a computer. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you get 4 generations down.
That's irrelevant to this.
I know that is.
To me, this is a really important topic, and I think that...
And I wasn't meaning to trivialize it.
I know. But it just makes me feel really sad that a whole group of people, one of them is a relative of mine, can't get married here, and that he's being discriminated against on purpose.
Is Is he in a relationship where he wants to get married?
Not now, but he could be.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Well, if he's in the right state right now.
No, he's not.
But he's still not going to get the
He's
federal
still, but the
protection.
point is he
that's
still
true.
doesn't have
That's
the
true.
benefits. He still doesn't have the legal right to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I think we're all agreed upon, that people should have that legal right.
I agree.
So that's, and I don't know what will happen in the Supreme Court case. It'll be interesting to see, because I think this Supreme Court is very aware of changing political winds. You have 4 years in which 3 justices on the court, in all probability, will retire because of age. I believe Justice Bader Ginsburg, Justice Kennedy, and Justice Scalia all will be in mid-80s. And that means you'd have President Obama would have the ability to name 3 more justices
Right.
to the
The
Supreme
Republicans
Court.
are not going to. Scalia is not going to retire
No,
down.
no.
While Obama's in
No.
office,
Oh, well, I mean,
unless he's carried out of that.
well, age has.
I don't think Scalia's that old. I think you're overestimating him.
Scalia's not that old.
No, he's not in his
Scalia's not
80s.
that old.
No.
Scalia's
70s.
70s. No, I think he's in his 70s. I think
Early
he's
70s.
I think he's in his anyways.
Can I make a plug?
You sure may.
Okay. I just want to make 2 plugs.
Okay.
About the marriage thing. I think to get the most up-to-date information, you could go to IndianaEqualityAction.org. That's the website that keeps up with this. Our website doesn't.
Okay, it's
But the
Indiana.
EqualityAction.org. And another thing that we're doing is, in order to bring awareness about the amendment, Indianapolis PFLAG is partnering with an organization called Fair Talk, which is out of Bloomington. And we're having a concert on Saturday, April 6th, at the Church Within at 7 o'clock. Tickets are only $5, and it's to raise awareness about the amendment.
And where is that located?
It's in Fountain Square. I think it's 1125 Spruce Street.
Okay.
And we're not trying to preach to the choir. We're trying to reach out to people who really know nothing about it. So if you know people that you want to educate, have them come. They can hear some good music and learn a little bit more about the amendment. Because we feel, in PFLAG we say, tell your story. And I think that's what's going to change people's minds. They're going to hear personal stories about real people and what they experience and how this amendment could damage them and their families.
And we will be back in just a minute with our last segment.
Or lightning round.
Lightning round. Thank you, Annette, and we'll be right back.